June 30th through to November the 15th, 2024, Saturn is retrograde, and it's not what you think it is. When Saturn's retrograde, things are positive for us because we have time to delay, rethink, and go back over with wisdom and sagacity parts of our life that we need to attend to before leaping forward. Saturn brings us the best of the best at the end of his journey through any sign. And in the Western tropical zodiac astrology, he's been in the sign of Pisces since March of 2023 and doesn't completely leave this watery place until February of 2026. So each of us is learning a deep, profound lesson to do with like what we need to create in our lives that comes from a deep place of sagacity, but also the understanding of the value of chronos and time, that good things take time to achieve or to develop. And when he's retrograde, the gift is we have that time we need to reassess. We're going to talk about what this means for you. Your rising sign, sun, and moon sign can all be listened to today. Now, before we begin, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. I am using the Western tropical zodiac and the whole sign house system. We're going to be talking about the fixed stars and minor asteroids, including some asteroids involved in this retrograde. One of them is the asteroid body called Nessus, and a couple of other interesting ones involved as well will be brought into the narrative. One is Panacea, the remedy for everything, and another asteroid I'd love to discuss with you today is going to be the asteroid Icarus. Yes, whose wings melted and fell from the sky. In our own life, however, it's much more positive than some of those stories, which will be about world events, because we're going to talk about how this particular retrograde beginning is involved in a kite, and a kite is about some area of portending success or achievement. So even though only on the day of the retrograde, let's say, or the day before or day after, which is, as I said, June the 30th, there is the formation of a kite with Saturn and with the planet Venus and the planet Athena, a goddess of wisdom and knowledge. Even though there's this kite in the sky, we also are going to say that it's stamping in an energy for the entire retrograde. It's really what the retrograde's for. Okay, so when you're at your sign, we're going to talk about that, as well as what other planets Saturn is impacting. Now, before we begin as well, if you are new to my channel and you like astrology, that's all signs astrology. All of my astrology is all signs astrology. So everything I put out covers a detailed overview of how this energy in our sky, whether a retrograde or a transit or an eclipse or a moon, will impact your sign. If you like that kind of content, I would love for you to give me a try by subscribing, hitting that notification bell so you know when my new videos come out. I literally have, I think, 20 to 25 videos every single month. And so I'm a very prolific advisor of your reality so that you can time your best life using the wisdom and knowledge of the celestial bodies coding our reality. Okay, so we're going to get started, and I am traveling, and I'm just doing my best with a really crappy travel mic. I hope you can hear me. Let me see if I got some quality volume, and hotel rooms and windows and dicey internet, which now looks kind of dicey on my internet bars. I hope I'm not cutting out, but we're going to do our best. Right now I'm in Spain in a little town called near Pedron. I'm on the way to Santiago, which is the next stop on an El Camino journey. But I'm recording this early access ad-free content June the 9th for my Patreon community. So that's another thing you might want to check out in my description box below. All of my videos are time-stamped, and you can hit the chapters by clicking the title or look for the timestamps for your sign pinned to the top of the comments bar. And if you look underneath this video, there's all kinds of things I give away for free. The 12 meanings of the houses PDF, for example, or you can also receive from me how to cast your chart and whole sign houses, and that also helps you find your ascendant. So all these freebies and other things are in the description box. Just go all the way down to the bottom for the freebies. All right, guys, so let's start off talking about Lord Saturn, the time of karma, the Lord of time and karma, the guy who makes the matrix, the guy that is the boundary planet, the seventh planet between, well, the fifth planet and the seventh celestial body we use in astrology, which in the ancient tradition includes the sun and the moon as luminaries. Saturn is kind of like a boundary line between the transpersonal, the trans-Neptunian planets, Pluto, the transpersonal planets of Pluto, Uranus, etc. So you can consider him kind of like that dividing line that keeps us in the matrix. I like to think of reality often as a simulation. It feels like that to me. If your synchronicities haven't gotten so crazy that you're wondering if the glitches in the matrix are trying to snap you to a wakefulness state, then you're not alone. Just the other day, one of my increasingly common synchronicities as I'm typing on my computer. And as I'm doing so, I like say I was writing my newsletter and I used the word breakfast, I believe. And then I'm listening to a podcast at the same time. Yes, I'm a multitasker. And they use the word breakfast. And I'm like, I'm typing breakfast. The word breakfast is being spoken at the same time. These kinds of clues continually remind us that nothing is an accident. There's some kind of divine intelligence here. And we're not seeing the big picture. It's like Plato's cave. You know, the guys were sitting there, the fire behind them, seeing shadows on the wall, thinking those shadows were somehow real, not understanding that they're just a reflection or like, you know, a projection from the light behind them to the wall of the cave. We don't understand what really is happening here. We only have a bit of the picture. And hopefully astrology gives us at least a larger viewpoint. So what I want to say about Saturn is don't be afraid of him. It's not what you think. A Saturn retrograde can be an incredibly profound, deep, wise, and spiritual time. It may call you to more isolation and aloneness, for Saturn is the outsider, the alone one, and the outcast. So you may spend more time inward or in a alone space, which is fine. For all signs, this can be true. Signs that are ruled by Saturn are Aquarius and Capricorn, and by big time, big meaning for you guys, us guys, I'm Aquarius rising, we will experience all Saturn retrogrades as somewhat important. So keep that in mind as well. I also would like to mention something. What about Saturn's degree range in the Western tropical symbolic zodiac? Well, he's going to start retrograding at 19 degrees of Pisces on June 30th and turn direct on the 14th, 15th of November, depends on your time zone, at 12 degrees of Pisces. Therefore, those of you listening with planetary bodies, especially your sun, moon, and rising, any of those three, in that range of 19 to 12, and you might bracket that a little bit, just, you know, why not, for an engagement window of 3 degrees. So we'll say, therefore, 16 degrees of Pisces to 9 degrees, 9 degrees of Pisces. Planetary placements there will be impacted. So your rising sign in Pisces, your sun there, of course, right? Your moon. Sun can be about father figures, career and purpose. The moon can represent mother figures, home, safety, body, and mind. Whereas the rising degree or sign represents your character in the matrix. Think of the sun as your soul or the actor playing the character, the ascendant. That's how I view that. So all three can be listened to because we have a body and mind, that's the moon. We have a solar, celestial, eternal being, that's the sun sign. And then we have the character we play, which is the rising sign. So a lot of people are run by their ascendant, and often are not very deeply in contact with the soul energy of their being, the sun. And so sometimes people will say their sun sign is more accurate for them. So please listen to your sun sign and your rising for sure, moon as well. Now, I want to talk about 19 degrees to 12 degrees with a specific comment. Let's say Venus or Jupiter or Mars or Mercury are in that range of planets, placement 16 to 9 degrees of Pisces, reminding you, of course, why we're talking about that, right? Saturn's going backwards from 19 to 12 degrees. We're talking about those planetary placements because they will be conjunct Saturn. And I think some of you might go, oh no, Saturn's going to cross over my Venus during this time, retrograde. Not to worry, by the way, he's already crossed over there direct. What you really want to think about is what whole sign houses does that Venus rule in your chart? Because where Saturn retrogrades, there will be slow downs. Retrograde is equal delays, slowdowns, reassessments, revisions of some part of your reality. So say Saturn does cross over your Venus sometime during this retrograde period. You might even just say, therefore, June 30th to November 15th, if Saturn will cross over your Venus, for example, she rules 2 houses in your chart, the whole sign Libra house and the whole sign Taurus house. Those houses will experience slowdowns, retrogrades, delays, or revisions. Say it's your Mercury that's in that window of those degrees, then your Mercury represents 2 houses in your chart, the Gemini whole sign house of your sky, which has a meaning, of course, and the Virgo whole sign house. And those houses will have delays, and they will slow down, and there will be revisions for you. So keep that in mind. What about Jupiter? He rules the whole sign Pisces part of your chart. Of course, that's where this is happening, as well as he rules your Sagittarius whole sign house. Slowdowns, retrogrades, and delays if your Jupiter is in the range of the retrograde. Who did I forget? Mars. If your Mars is in the sign of Pisces, in the range of the retrograde, and I'm giving it that latitude of 16 to 9 degrees, Mars rules your whole sign Scorpio and whole sign Aries house, and that part of your chart will indeed experience delays, revisions, slowdowns, but you have time to rethink things, okay? That's the critical point, because what you have time to go deeper into with some wisdom and sagacity in all of the areas I described, if the planetary rulers of those houses or signs in your chart is being activated by the Saturn retrograde, you're going to have to go into that and look at that yourself. I can't do a whole video on this video, at least, helping you understand that, maybe a separate video. Now, what about the degree of the retrograde station? It's 19 degrees of Pisces, and that indicates that you're going to experience a Sabian symbol activation. All of the world will. The Sabian symbol for the degree of 20 Pisces, all Sabians round up, is a table being set for an evening meal. A table set for an evening meal is the 20th degree of Pisces. Sabian symbols are really cool. There are literally 360 degrees of a circle. There are 360 channel symbols by Elsie Wheeler, and a lot of people use them, and they're quite astounding. I have the Sabian symbol called the crystal ball gazer on my moon in the house of prophecy and seers and oracles in my natal chart. And what did I do all through my 30s was tell the future for people as a pure psychic, and now I do it with astrology. So this kind of stuff does boggle the mind. Where in your life do you need, or we need collectively, to set a table for an evening meal? Let's think about what that might mean for each of us and the world at large. An evening meal is a time of celebration, a time of coming together with our family, a time of sustenance and nourishment. And where do we need to set the sustenance, nourishment, and collectivity of the evening space in our lives, where we are nourishing ourselves very often in the company of others, because very few evening meals are table set if we're eating alone. Let's face it, if we're eating alone, what are we doing? We're in front of the TV with a stand or something like that. So I would like everyone to think about it as a place of gathering. Now, one of my friends has just checked in. I'm going to pause the recording to see if she needs help with her suitcase. I was going to help my girlfriend lug her suitcase up the stairs here at this little hotel. This is a beautiful hotel. I'm going to do a writer's retreat here next year, guys. It's in a little town called, it's in the forest, it's in the woods. There's a massive river trail. Anyway, more to come. I'm going to do a writer's retreat next year and call in some more women. So if you missed the Camino with me, because some of you wanted to come, well, you can come on my writer's retreat next year as well. I'm going to continually gather people for great dinner conversations. Let me take a sip of water and let's keep going. Oh, shoot. I started the recording again. Am I recording? I am recording. Sorry, I thought it said I'd stopped. Okay, let's get going. So the next thing I want to say is this. There's a great Cadogan song called, it's called Rewind, I think. And the song is like Cadogan, C-A-D-I-A-G-N. It's like reverse and rewind. And it's from the music is in the show The 13th Floor, which is another story about simulations and alternate reality from the 1990s. Reverse and rewind. I love that song. Go listen to it. But there's something about that. When Saturn, the Lord of Time, right? The Lord of Time, Chronos, the chronicator, actually goes backwards. We're reversing and rewinding. We're not just pausing. Like a lot of this astrology would be, oh, take a pause button, maybe something's going to, rethink, revise, but it's also rewind energy because he's a time god and we can press a rewind button in our lives. I love that idea. And so where are we going to rewind something in our lives? Turn it back, turn the clock back even. Now we may turn a metaphorical clock back, but we could turn a literal clock back. So things may happen in a Saturn retrograde where we go back to people, places, and things from our past for more wisdom, clarity, and to rethink something. So we'll get to the all signs very, very shortly. Now, in Vedic astrology, Saturn is the enemy of the moon, and the moon is the mind. And that's why Saturn brings us fear and anxiety. That's another Saturnian portfolio element. So when he's retrograde, my experience has been fear and anxiety or mental bullshit from my past resurfaces. Why? To harass me? Is this guy harassing Lori? Excuse my table. No, this guy is helping me see what part of my life I still have baggage in. where I could feel anxiety and fear. You know that book, Power versus Force? Well, there's certain emotions that don't serve us. Guilt and shame are at the very bottom. You know, they trap us there. Guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, these are low-level vibrations, right? Except that hope, joy, and love are on the high end of the scale. So when Saturn goes retrograde, rather than looking at it like, oh shoot, I'm having this like panic attack, anxiety attack, fear, dread Saturn, about something that's going on, likely from my past, you can take a step back from it and witness that and ask yourself, is this situation that's happening between June 30th and November 15th, where some dreadful past story is resurfacing for me, causing me to have nail-biting anxiety or something like that? Can I detach from that? Because one thing Saturn can do is detach. He is the Lord of detachment, the Lord of sagacity, the Lord of the isolationist, the Lord of the wise guru, like sage-like monk in a cave on the top of the Himalayas. It's not all bad. He's your Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's your, maybe your Yoda. And can you find that part of the Saturn retrograde to benefit you? I'm going to show you the sky, and I'm going to talk about what it might mean for the world in a very broad brushstroke. That's called world or mundane astrology. I get some of you don't like world astrology. I'm okay with that. You can jump to your timestamps and you don't have to listen to it. So you do you. If you like this stuff, stick around. If you don't, jump ahead. I'll be starting a new channel in the fall called The World in Our Stars, and I will cover only world astrology on that channel with somebody else. I'm vetting a collaborating astrologer to do that with me. Now, let's take a look at the sky. I'm going to wiggle and jiggle here a bit because I unfortunately have a really wobbly table stand with with a trash can upside down on top of it to make this video in a hotel in Spain. All right, so what I want to show you is a very broad brushstroke. I'm going to try my best to point at things without tipping this over. Where you see Saturn is here in the sign of Pisces, conjunct the asteroid for revenge Nessus. This retrograde is not starting on November 15th, it's starting on June the 30th. Let us adjust that. I'm at the end of the retrograde. I did not mean to be there. That's my mistake. June 30th. Let's put it in. Is that all right with you guys? We just pause for a second, get to the right date, calculate. All right. So Nessus and Saturn are tracking together. All right. Saturn is in the sign of water. This is June 30, 2024. Saturn is turning retrograde in Pisces at 19 degrees. And I want to mention the obvious. He's tracking with Nessus even through to November. Nessus is a really dramatic story to do with revenge. Hercules sent his wife Daenerys across a river, and the ferryman tried to have sex with Daenerys and, when she was on the other shore of the bank. And Hercules was pissed off, and so he shot a Hydra's poison arrow at Nessus, who was a centaur, by the way. Those centaurs were always randy, half horse, half man. They're famous for having sex with everybody except for Chiron. So basically, rowdy body, bunch of sexual energy. So basically, she didn't have sex. Some people say rapes, have sex with, who knows. And the poison arrow was filled with the poison of the Hydra, and it hit. Hydra's poison is also what hit Chiron and caused him to be wounded. So it was killing. It did kill the centaur Nessus, but as he was dying, he gave Deandra, or whatever her name is, Deianira, his robe, which is filled with the blood of the Hydra, and that's poisonous. And he told her, this blood will save your marriage should your husband Hercules stray. And she believed him, duh. And then later on, when she was feeling jealous of another woman's attention that Hercules was paying attention to her, I think her name was Nole, a daughter of a king, she put the poisonous blood on the robe, on Hercules' clothes, or gave him the robe with the poison blood. He didn't know it had the Hydra's poison in it. And then he put it on, and he got sick, and he had a fever, and he died. Okay. But then Zeus liked him a lot and gave him a special place in heaven with eternal life. Okay. So it's a story of betrayal, treachery, and revenge. Just keep in mind betrayal, treachery, and revenge, the dark side, the monster within, so to speak. And that's tracking with Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of water. It is water hardships, treachery, betrayal, and revenge on water. It can be Taiwan, China. Why not? It could be the Red Sea and the Houthis. It could be the Mediterranean. It could be anywhere in the world. It can be also difficult stories, perhaps, to do with weather and water in that time frame of Saturn retrograde. But because it's got this sort of active revenge principle, I will go with places in the war that are near or on water will involve treachery and revenge. That does not include Ukraine. It's not a water war unless there's a bombing of a what do you call it? of a dam or something, then yes. So, but the Red Sea and the Mediterranean are part of the Middle East war that's ongoing. And so we're going to see some darker stories emerging to do with the words revenge and war and places where war is happening in water. I doubt that's Taiwan for the word revenge. So I'm going to bring it all back right now to perhaps what's going on in the Middle East, especially with the nodes of fate. North node in the house of open enemies to the nation of Israel. That's the Aries part of the sky, increases the intensity and the voraciousness and the scope of enemies of Israel. All right, just keep that in mind. I'm not taking sides. Well, I am actually. I'm anti the G word that I can't say on this platform, but I'm not going to go deep down the dark hole of the war today. And what else would I like to say to you guys? I would say for the world at large, looking at this particular chart, with the asteroid Icarus, this is in the first house of the United States of America, and it's in the first house of Netanyahu, and it's in the first house of Biden, Joe Biden. They all have a Sagittarius ascendant. Well, Icarus is the wings that melted from the son of the Daedalus, the inventor. The wings were made of wax. He tried to reach the sun, which means leadership, power in worldly astrology, and the wings melted and he fell from the sky. Now, I said a lot of stuff about a leader falling from the sky earlier because there was connections to that asteroid a couple months back, and it was indeed like a helicopter crash for the leader in Iran, right? That literally happened. But it doesn't have to be literal. It could be metaphorical falling from the sky. What person in power, so Biden, Netanyahu, or the USA itself, has an Icarus moment baked into a square for revenge and Saturn. Saturn, the Lord of time and karma. Karmatic revenge stories are playing out near and on water between June 30th and November 15th that implicate Netanyahu, Biden, and or the United States. Simple, end of story. You guys figure it out. Again, I'm not going to rabbit hole too deeply. At the same time, Panacea, the remedy or cure for everything, is sitting in the sign of the brothers and the neighbors in Gemini, where we've had wars between brothers and neighboring countries. And we can say that this is looking like there's something going on there. This creates a T-square. I'll try to annotate for you guys without tipping this over, just because it'll make it more clear, okay? There's falling from the sky, Nessus, falling from a height of power. There's the remedy or cure for everything in the house sign, Gemini, of warring brothers. And here is the T-square. This is Saturn with Nessus, and boom, T-squares, or difficult, challenging energy that requires decisions and actions. All squares are the nature of Mars. Mars is a god of action, decisions, willpower. And literally, we're looking at a major time frame that is baked in between June 30th and November 15th, where it looks quite possible and plausible that we're going to see something to do with gritty tension around hardship, revenge, water, war, leaders falling from power, but they attempt to find a remedy or a cure for some sort of situation involving Gemini, brothers or neighbors. And on top of that, when we add Juno, we get what was called a grand cross. Grand cross are like crucifixions. It is a lot of tension in the sky. Juno is about agreements and vows. She's the goddess of a wedding vow. She's the goddess of divorce as well. And so Juno is here. Juno can also be connected to moneta or coinage, and there's a crucible of energy there as well. But in the meantime, this makes a T-square through the nation of the United States, houses 1, 4, 7, and 10, which is incredibly intense energy for the USA. And as you all know, there is an election coming up on November of this year. And so therefore, we can say there's a lot of tension here. You know, Trump has a sun in a sign of Gemini. His chart looks incredibly strong to him to be a successful candidate and perhaps the winner. And so it is also interesting to see Jupiter in Gemini, the sun of Donald Trump involved in that as well. Donald Trump has his ascendant at the 29th degree of Leo, which is little king, born to rule, power, fame, and glory, and also falls from power. But with his ascendant over here, right, in the sign of Leo, and with this incredible T-square involving his sun, there's a possibility that this is indicating a success for Donald Trump. And what is Joe Biden? Joe Biden has his rising sign here in the middle of this hot mess of a T-square. I wonder if Juno, the goddess of marriage, okay, the wife of Jupiter, and there's Jupiter in Gemini, and there is a conversation there, is indicating a female leader, because Virgo is the 10th house of the United States, which is the house of its leadership. And female energy is Virgo, the Virgin. And I'm wondering if indeed this indicates not just a successful vice president running mate for the candidate that will win, but for some reason, the stepping into power of that female. For example, this is a strange story, but what if Trump has a running mate that's a woman, let's say Tulsi Gabbard, hopefully not Nikki Haley. Oh my God, she's like downright, not too bright, by my humble opinion. Sorry, guys, I'm a Canadian. But also she's got really, really hard. She wrote on a bomb, finish them, on an American-made bomb that Israel's using regarding the Palestinian people. So that kind of energy is so intense. Who knows? But there's a strong possibility, I've said this in many videos, of women rising to power to do with to do with my video I created on the solar ingress chart for April. And we already saw a president being elected female in Mexico, praise the Lord. But also possibly this is indicating a female, the queen this is Hera, the queen, all right, energy, the mate of Zeus, which is Jupiter. So because this is baking this in during an election year, the Saturn retrograde, there could be a female from the past who has already been in political power resurfacing to take the queenhood of America. And maybe that can be someone like Tulsi Gabbard, who used to be in the Congress. Now, interestingly, if this happens, it could be because someone like Trump gets actually some kind of legal arrests thing going, and he has to spend time, I know it's house arrest. You know, imagine a president with a house arrest in the White House, guys, life is getting crazy. Or he has to go to jail, and so he can't run. He's like out of commission, and so his vice president takes over. There's that kind of energy here, but it's just speculation. Now let's finish this story now and move to your sign. Get a pen, get a paper, get, something to like settle in with, because I'm going to spend a decent amount of time giving you some advice so you can time your best life using this story. I continually am worried that this microphone is not giving you any sound. Is it even plugged in? Hallelujah, it is plugged in. Okay, so let's get rolling and talk about your sign. Worst case scenario, I'm on my very echoey laptop mic. I'm not going to announce many things for my channel right now, but one announcement is my Sky Reader class does start in September. And if you're interested in that, it will be 6 weeks live, replays available, evergreen access to keep the content for the rest of your life off my teaching platform. Once you buy it, you have it. I don't sell this all a la carte as a standalone. You need to learn with me where I can take your questions, and I'll have an assistant helping me this year as well in the fall to give you more space for your own questions and if you get stuck in the course. This course is meant for you to understand your own astrology chart and the charts of friends and family and be able to read it. So to time your best life, and we jump right to some ancient timing tools after you get the basics down. This is not a class to teach you to become a professional astrologer. So understand that as well. All right, so let's get talking about the sky for each of you. Let's start off with Aries, of course, and then we'll move into each sign. I'll probably spend a minimum of 5 minutes for each sign, if not longer. Use the time stamps to jump ahead. Let's get going. All right, let's get rolling, guys. We're going to start with the Aries folk, and we're going to move through this in a very deep dive way so that you can hopefully use this as a resource, and I know me, don't forget, like, subscribe. And if you're in the live premiere, and I might be watching this with you, depends on my schedule here on my travels. I'll probably be back home by the time you see this. I'll be seeing you in the live premiere. Thanks to all my regulars for being here. You know who you are, Herbal Empress and Sowing Light and all of you. My brain's offline. Michael Thrash, Serge LaBelle, Linda Calder, and more. Misbehaving, of course. And Stephen the Jupiterian, my guy with the wrench. All right, so here we have it, June the 30th, 2024. We have a retrograde Saturn Aries, and this is in your 12th house. First thing I want you to remind you of is what Saturn witnesses and what he owns is his territory of influence. And he witnesses and owns certain pieces of real estate. He's in this place of your 12th house, but he is the owner and witness, in a way, of what goes on in the 11th house. So just keep in mind that as he's retrograding here, and I did say the dates of the retrograde, as he's retrograding here between brain come online any day, June 30th to November 15th, you're going to find that this is a part of your sky where he sits, first of all, where you're going to go back and rethink something or revise or maybe rewind and reverse something. It has to do with many things, the 12th house, because it's a deep spiritual moksha house. So, spiritual liberation can be had here. But it has a other very mundane level of meaning. It has to do with far off shores and lands, especially the far off shores and lands that you use to generate revenue or to travel to, especially sometimes in a way to retreat. This is a house of isolation. Often we'll see ashram energy here, people going off to a spiritual retreat center or a holistic spa for some time out, or a rehab center. Of course, this house is of self-undoing and addiction. It's really how you unplug from the matrix. If you're going to go backwards here, I want you to think about what things as well from your past may emerge to do with these themes that you're needing to really deal with between June 30th and November 15th. So Aries, also, do you generate revenue and income from far off places and international sources? Because if you do, then this non-local, non-domestic revenue source is going to be very much an area of revision, rethinking, delays, and slowdown, because you're deepening here how to amplify that for greater success, especially as finally Saturn leaves your 12th house in mid-February of 2026. With Saturn here, you might want to be isolated anyway. A lot of times this is the isolation transit that began last March and will end in February of 26. And your alone time, contemplation and solitude is meant to be nourishing. Don't forget, we have a dinner place setting here. How are you nourishing yourself through contemplation, solitude, and aloneness? And how in this retrograde between June 30th and November 15th, can this be of a great asset to you in a way that can allow you to deepen your spiritual truth, understanding, and your sense of deeper spiritual liberation or awakening? Now, you've had this energy before. I'm going to cover this briefly for all signs, but we did see Saturn retrograding and, of course, transiting in the 3 years he was here back in 1993 to 1996. And it was spring of 93 to spring of 96 in general. And so you may want to go back and compare your life to that time frame. And for those of you old enough, March of 64 to March of 67, or that general feeling of the last time Saturn was in a retrograde, but just also traveling through your 12th house. All right, so what else is Saturn up to? Well, first of all, let's remember he will be in square relationship or difficult aspect energy to your 9th house, 3rd house, as well as witnessing your 6th house across the way. So this indicates that these parts of your chart are influenced by this retrograde. So you may also expect to see revisions, delays, or reassessments and rethinking of matters to do with foreign shores, foreign lands, higher education, publications, especially books, and your spiritual philosophy. Matters to do over here in the other square of sibling relationships, travel, ideas, writing, communicating, and these are all travel and educational energies that are being reassessed, revised, and re-engaged in a deeper way by you, looking for the wisdom in those areas of your reality. And you can also note that Saturn is looking across at your 6th house. Now, we do see Juno there, which would be vows, agreements, and contracts to do with pets, rentals, tenancy situations as landlord or tenant, as well as health and work. Now, you may be simply revising, what is this work you really want to do that's deeply meaningful and coming from sage-like wisdom of your soul and your deeper self, Saturn in the 12th house? But at the same time, you could be revising a strategy for self-undoing addictions and bad habits and patterns that don't do so well for your health matters, for this is the house of sickness. Work and colleagues especially can be impacted by this retrograde, and you may change up and agree to new agreements with new people, new colleagues, and new co-workers that you wish to have, or employees if you're the boss. Your relationship to siblings and extended family is going to be engaged by the retrograde. And so for some of you, third house, cousins, nieces, and nephews, but also siblings in general, are very much a part of that window of the retrograde time frame. And so through till November, these people become more prominent. And even though Saturn is retrograde, right, it's deepening the connection to those sorts of people in your life. Now, there is a kite in the sky, which I will address, and that simply says aim for success at the top of a kite in the work and health matters over those retrograde months for work, health, pets, and tenancy and rental situations, as well as debts, to be a place where you can succeed by going deeper, by retrospecting, by introspecting, by going back over rethinking some old ground, especially if you make money internationally. You will know that you could get some anchors on that kite from Athena, strategy, knowledge, and wisdom in shared resources, money, and investments, as in taxes as well. And you'll also get some support from Venus, the goddess of money and love, sitting in your fourth house, land, home, property, and real estate. And honestly, for you, Aries, look at this kite, Venus in the fourth house of your domestic private life and your home life, flowing to Juno in the sixth, work from home, new property agreements, new rental agreements, new mortgage agreements, new refinancing agreements, property, home, real estate, money, and debt look good on you, because this retrograde allows you to go back over old ground and therefore jump forward in positive ways November of this year through to ideally even the end of this retrograde, February of 26. Oh, I hope that helps you, Aries, understand a bit about how to use this or lose this in your reality. You are a Jupiter-ruled being, I should mention that, and Jupiter is witnessing what Saturn's up to in his home kingdom from your third house. And again, that travel, skills-based learning, sibling relationships, those are very important areas of positivity and change in the retrograde cycle for you. So through to November from the end of June. Next, we're going to talk about you Taurians. Hang on a sec, recently used. I have to change it. I had to change the chart out of 0 Aries, where I pinned this thing again, to whole sign. All right. Of course, we're way ahead, so just give me a minute, guys, while I jump us back in time to the Aries and the Taurus. I hope this is recording. I hope my internet's stable. I hope my microphone rag isn't tucked down my middle of my bra and you guys can hear this darn thing. Okay. Let's get going with you, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. All right, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Look at this sky. You've got a beautiful energy. I love Saturn because I'm Saturn ruled being, retrograding Saturn. Yay, you, June 30th to November the 15th in your 11th house of good spirit. Your 11th house is a house that can bring you money. The money there is usually from your 10th house of career and reputation, second from the 10th, and it's what you get from your work. So it's when you win the award, you get the Employee of the Year award. It's the benefits and gains from your work. So including salary increases or just the salary itself. And it also can involve your wishes, dreams, and hopes for your life, your plans for your life, especially how you want to show up in the outer world and people notice what you're doing. So you have a plan, revision, reverse, rewind possibility, and you may be revising, rewinding, and redoing and rethinking what you wish to achieve in your life in general, especially when it comes to your visible reputation and career. You might also find, as he's retrograde here, that you may go back to old earnings and job stories from your past and be able to get some deep sustenance financially from those older work, coworkers, and workspace income sources. So some income sources from your past may reveal themselves to you. In general, having Saturn here for 3 years, last March to February of 26, is asking you as well to be more discerning, like a sage-like wisdom around the kinds of friends you wish to engage in your life. What kinds of groups of belonging and friendship circles are really going to be for you a table setting, right, of nourishment and sustenance at the dinner table, that Sabian symbol, rather than just friends for friends' sake, keeping them no matter what, grandfathering them in just despite the fact they're assholes or something. You might really be looking more squarely at that question mark. Do I want to keep the friends or not that I have? You know, friends from the past may return, of course, especially if they're older than you or wiser than you. And this is the house of an elder sibling, the one above you, and the connection to that elder sibling is going to be really deepening as you look at elements of that relationship with an elder sibling through the lens of time, the past, maybe even nostalgia, and create a stronger bond to that sibling. If you have a friend or ally who wishes to help you out and benefit you, like a benefactor, Saturn brings those benefactors back to you now from the past to support you in whatever way you need support. Saturn is able to witness in a challenging way these following areas of your life where you can also expect some slowdowns, delays, rethinking and revisions and rewinds. He's able to witness your third and your ninth house in a square matter, and that indicates slowdowns and revisions in higher education, skills-based learning, third house, travel plans, legal matters, things to do with perhaps younger siblings, things to do with 311, not 3-9 axis can also be connected to your spiritual path and some revisions about how you wish to really deepen your spiritual life through going back to something you've done before. But expect some delays here too. I mean, where the delays come isn't just where Saturn travels, it's what he squares and opposes, where he's going to be able to also sort of send some reverb, basically. He's witnessing, of course, as he retrogrades in your 11th house, your 5th house of sexuality, love, and romance. Juno, the goddess of marriage and divorce, is here. I will have to say, for some of you, there's a deep reassessment, perhaps ongoing, by Saturn's witnessing judgment of a romantic house where you may reassess that romantic partnership. You could do that. Or you could be having a reassessment of a relationship with a child of yours, because the 5th house is the house of children. You don't want to divorce a child, but you could come to some new Juno vows and agreements together with a child, especially if it's an adult child. You know, fun, play, and passion. Saturn is sort of gazing over in a stern taskmaster way at your fun, play, passion, pleasure house, your 5th house, joy and enjoyment. And you may find that your joy and enjoyment, well, it's not impeded by Saturn directly. There's a kind of discerning wisdom. Is this pleasure worth it? You know, whatever that is, like, am I getting what I really deeply want from a sage-like wisdom in me that allows me to advance my wisdom, my goals and dreams for my life through the temporary sparks of like wine or weed or whatever you do for pleasure? Because pleasure is so, Venus is our joy in that 9th, 5th house, and pleasure is so much about what goes on there. Venus is the Lord of your sign. And she's able to be of assistance here because not only does she witness what Saturn is doing in the 11th house, but she's in a flow relationship to this retrograde onset and forms a part of a kite. Let's talk about that now. First of all, Venus is in the sign of Cancer, watching Saturn in the 11th house, and she is your Lord, and she is in a flowing relationship to you as a Taurus sun, moon, and rising. She sextiles you. So that's positive. And she says something along the lines in a kite formation, right? Can we extend into some greater success in entrepreneurial business, creative projects, romantic love, and childlike fertility, pregnancy, and relationship to children? Can we have success there? There is a kite. And if we can have that success, let's also draw in support for that from our marriage partnership, long-term committed partnerships, and strategy around that. That's Athena. And draw in some powerful support for a kite-like success, of course, from Venus herself. So the kite can take off during this retrograde because of this success. Well, you may not experience the liftoff here. Some of you could start a new entrepreneurial business. Some of you could start a new romantic love story. Some of you get pregnant and have a child, or fortify the relationships with any existing children, strengthening, especially in November onward as Saturn goes direct. The last thing I meant to mention is that we felt this energy before. It's not the first time. It's worth noting that you have experienced the energy of Saturn living and moving through your 11th house and retrograding there 3 times in the years of spring of 93 to spring of 96, and spring of 64 to spring of 67. Look back to those times in your life to see how those played out for you. Every time is a bit different, but you're going to see similar themes emerging. And now we're moving on to the next sign. Now I'm getting hungry and I have no chocolate, but I do have a ham and cheese sandwich for breakfast. So I'm going to get this done and get to that ham and cheese sandwich. Okay, let's talk about Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. First of all, I meant to say for every sign, just go back to March of 64 to March of 67 and May of 93 to April of 96. Why? Because Saturn was traveling in those time frames through the sign of Pisces and retrograding there for 3 different time frames. And that just says these retrogrades are things you've experienced before, as the Saturn transits are also familiar to you. This is your 10th house of career and reputation. This is where people see you doing your visible actions in the world. And this is where your success and ambition is focused in life. And because Saturn is a kind of stabilizing force, it's also helping you stabilize your success, seem like you're on your game of mastery and expert authoritative qualities up here. But also sometimes when Saturn's at the top of the sky, getting ready to slide downward, he's coming to completions. And I see often this looks like a time in which between March of last year and February of 26, some of you may retire or leave behind or complete one path of a career that energetically you may have started back in 1993 to 96 when he was the last here, as you began and ended something new. I'll use me as an example just because, because I have a sun progressed in Gemini maybe. But anyway, if I was to say no, I won't use me as an example. My son wasn't there then. But consider there's a bookend here and a beginning ending cycle in career matters for sun, moon, and rising people, especially sun and rising. Your career cycle is changing here. Now, as Saturn is in revision mode and rethinking mode and rewind mode, you may go back to things you've done in the past and want to redo those again. You may have a yearning for that. With my progressed sun in Gemini, I want to go back to screenplay writing, fiction writing. I've done that poetry, award-winning fiction, award-winning screenplay. I want to go back to that. This retrograde cycle allows for you to consider how to wisely re-engage career ambitions and success stories from your past between June 30th and November the 15th, in order then to leap forward after November the 15th and engage in those new directions. Well, what else is happening? Certainly when Saturn's in the 10th house, he's in witnessing mode to 3 other houses that create change and change and change, because these are tense aspects. He'll have you revise and rethink your significant long-term committed love, audience and marketplace matters, 7th house. You will have delays and revisions there. He'll have you reconsider, rethink, and revise your body, your attention to yourself, and how you wish to present your character in the world, a self-identity change. And he will witness and have you change matters to do with the 4th house, including leases, contracts, purchases, buying, selling, domestic life agreements. And those are under revision for you as well over the course of the retrograde months through to November 15th. Now, with Juno in the 4th house, she's very contractual. Vows and agreements to do with property, land, and real estate are on the agenda. Saturn rules your 8th house of inheritances and mortgages. Those themes are there. Legacy, wealth, agreements, inheritances, mortgages are big stories of revision, rethinking, and revising, but delays as well through to November 15th. I did mention that there was a kite in the sky. So let's look at the kite. The kite means you can be successful where the tip of the kite is. There's the kite. The tip of the kite is the 4th house. Agreements, contracts around land, home, property, and real estate matters, and domestic private life matters, and money from your family of origin. Those are areas in where you can have great success between this June 30th and November 15th, getting assists or support from Athena in the house of debts, work situations, health, and rentals and tenancy agreements, and getting an assist from Venus in the 2nd house of possessions and resources financially, including money that you can be saving or making. And so you could possess a new agreement, possession, real estate house Some of you may be looking at the opportunity to be a successful home purchaser or as a home seller in this time frame, not just of the retrograde. The retrograde is how you revise, rethink, delay, consider, and then maybe in November onward, things jump forward and you begin to activate success here. The kite is baked in as a stamp of the energy signature, of course, of this. With the Sabian symbol of a table setting, dinner setting in your 10th house, how do you wish to set the table to invite nourishment and sustenance and collaboration around a table in your career over these next months as you do that rewind and reset button in this part of your sky? Well, I thought I could get through all of this without a bite to eat, but I'm not going to be able to do it. I'll be right back after I munch a sandwich. You won't even know I'm gone. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. Thank God for the ever-present apple. In a fruit basket here, because I swear without the apple. Hey, by the way, these are really cool. You guys know I'm an earring junkie, right? Okay, these are like freshwater pearls, and I bought them in Lisbon, and they were so affordable. I think they were like 25 euro. I mean, seriously. I mean, they're just so like pretty. Okay, moving on, local person. Back to the next sign, and now I'm not going to faint. I'm going to continue forward with no hunger attack. We're moving past you, Gemini folk, and we're moving into the sign next to you, or one over zodiacally, which is Cancer. So Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. I am recording, yes, thank God. This is a story where you've got this movement of Saturn in your 9th house of God. Well, God is a big word, isn't it? Oh, that orange is my Coolio door to my bathroom. It's a really cool place. Number one, it is my microphone. Shoot. Like starting over. Hang on, the mic was way far away. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. Yay. Okay, back to you. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's start off. Number one, you have this energy of Saturn in your 9th house of God, which is like your spiritual philosophy. A metacosmos, between the worlds, a place of spiritual pilgrimages, a place of temples, a place of going off to see the Oracle of Delphi. That's the 9th house. But in our modern world, it's churches and religions, but it's also the 9th house of your foreign land travel and foreign shores. It's also the 9th house of book publishing in today's world and publications in general. It's books and libraries of knowledge, law books, therefore courts. And up in this 9th house, there's conceivably a third marriage partnership. And so up in that 9th house, we got a revision in place, a revise and a rewind in those matters as you rethink and deepen your sage-like wisdom about what you actually want to do here. Because this kind of transit of Saturn through Pisces has happened before. This time it started last March and it ends in February of 26. But you experienced this back in May of 1993 to April of 1996. Go back. What were you doing then in 9th house matters and revising and retrograding 3 times? This is a story you've lived through. It's some of you, not, but some of you have. If you're younger, no. You can compare notes. And of course, if you're old as I am, born in the 60s, you'll live through this in 1964, March to March of 1967. So sometimes it helps to look backwards and see what you've done with this energy in the past. It's always a bit different, but yeah. So here we have it. Now Saturn up here, revising, revisioning, is flowing to you in a very beautiful way. This is an easy energy because Saturn is in a trine to your identity, your Sun in Cancer, your Moon in Cancer, or your rising sign in Cancer. And I talked about earlier in the video, of course, the degrees of which he is retrograding, 19 degrees back to what was it, 14, 12, 19 to 12 to be literal, give it some latitude. And of course, if your ascendant, Sun and Moon is 19, around 19 to 12 degrees, you're going to feel it quite strongly, but in a very positive way. I didn't say that for everyone. Probably should have. But the gist being, all of the sign feels it, independent of the degrees, really. You may revise your spiritual philosophy. You may revise your dharmic path and what you think the meaning of your life is. You may revise plans regarding foreign shores and travel, or travel to a place that you've been before that brings you a sense of solid spiritual sort of sustenance and wisdom. This is also the place of third marriages, and you may be making revisions if you are in a long-term committed love story like a marriage. Live together, get married. And there's some changes you wish to make or are being made in that part of the sky. And if you're in the publishing industry or publications matter to you, then you could just be revising your legal contracts or even the manuscript itself. Yeah, I'm not sure that's even on properly. What else? Now, when Saturn's up here, he does offer up a tremendous amount of flow, not only to you, but to whoever else is in your life. And that could be your marriage partner or your significant long-term business partners. Those kinds of significant others are getting some lovely afterglows from this as well, not only you. So it has a bit of a two-way flow to you and those others that matter to you in long-term committed relationship ways. If you have a legal court case on the go and Saturn retrogrades here and the judge must decree or the lawyers are putting the briefs together, this will be going back to look at those in more depth or having revisions made to them or maybe rethinking the strategy, for example, in order to be better prepared and stronger and more capable as November 15th onward emerges. Reminding you that Saturn will be here through until February of 2026. What else is happening? Saturn will angle square-wise both your 6th and 12th house, and that means that that's going to receive a lot of tension as well as opposing your 3rd. Changes, revisions, delays, and rethinking happen in these houses just because of the angular directional shifts. Saturn could have you revise matters to do with pets, tenancies, and rentals, 6th house matters, but also health matters, and also matters that may be involving agreements to do with rentals and work colleague situations, and making some delays and revisions over those months of the retrograde to 12th house matters, especially self-undoing and self-sabotage that impacts your health, and some major changes coming there as well. And if you make money from foreign shores and land, some revisions in those matters too. With the oppositional energy of Saturn to your 3rd house, there are some changes coming with agreements and vows you may wish to have made or make regarding neighbors and neighborhood and siblings in general, as well as extended family. That's the 3rd house. But you may make some changes in travel plans because both Saturn and the 9th can indicate foreign land travel back to a place you've been before. 3rd house matters are shorter distance travel. So there's energies around those that indicate revision, rethinking, deepening stories, and maybe delays. In our modern world, your 3rd house can be your website, your social media, your online world, and you may partner up or business partner up or contract to do something with another here. That's one feature of the 3rd house. But because publications is the 9th and writing is the 3rd, book publishing contracts can come through during these 4 months, but maybe regarding ones from the past resurfacing or revisions to existing contracts needed. But that energy is there as well for Cancers. I have a couple Cancers who are author types, and that's very positive for them. In my client base, they're authors actually. And what else can I say? But it requires patience, guys. I should have said to me, Saturn is the tortoise, not the hare. Slow, patient, grinding, yes, perseverance, change, revisions. I do really like the fact that when Saturn's here, he is part of a kite that points to success in the 3rd house. Success with skills-based education. See the kite, guys? Yeah, right there. Success with skills-based education, success and achievement with writing projects, success and achievement with short distance travel, success and achievement with siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and neighbors. Those are positive energies for you. And we can also say that the kite is getting some support from Athena, the goddess of authors and authorship. Trust me, I've seen it in my client base. And creativity, the muse and inspiration, but also strategic developments with your children and your entrepreneurial businesses. And we're getting some assistance support to get that kite lifting off from Venus in the house of you. You are oh so beautiful, oh so pretty, oh so lucky. Over the course of this retrograde signature, you can apply charm liberally to persuade others delightfully that what you want, Venus in the house of you, what you desire, is something everybody wants to agree to. And the success is about the 3rd house because Venus is saying, yes, let's lift off this kite to visible success in writing, traveling, skills-based teaching, and learning areas of reality. Expect most of the goodness perhaps after November 15th because we want Saturn direct, but he's baking in the imprint of this idea of this area of potential success over the course of that time frame. I'm not really doing the minor asteroids that I talked about for the world with most signs, but for you, I just want to touch down on this. You're looking for the remedy for everything that ails you in a deeply karmatic house on a deeply karmatic axis with the wings melting in the house of sickness. If you've had a health challenge that's been really bothering you, or you've been trying to fix something and your wings keep melting, and you're falling from the successful health outcomes part of the sky, or if you keep losing your job or fired from your job, or some bad things are melting in your work and job space, then the solution is in the soulful 12th house, self-undoing, self-sabotaging karmic stories, including ancestral line junk, south notice here. So a lot of cancers need to dig into the childhood stories, how mom and dad raised you, your ancestral stories, and your past life stories in order to really reveal and heal something, especially when it comes to being more healthy or more gainfully, happily employed. You've got the North Node in your 10th house. You want to be successful in your career. You're going to achieve a healing of a career dissatisfaction by the time Chiron leaves there in 3 years. And you've been working on it a lot with this North Node transit through to 2025. So I encourage you, of all the signs, to do some deeper soul work, get a past life regression, go see a family constellation worker, dig up the ancestral, the familial, and the karmic garbage in the back of the buried in the backyard, and clear it out. I'm thinking this is going to be one of my longest videos ever. Hang in there. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, hey, Saturn is in a retrograde motion in your 8th house of chunky money. I love that word. I made it up. But it just means you don't really get a paycheck style money from it. And it's money you don't earn directly. So sometimes it's like when you get chunks of money from inheritances, or you share that money with your spouse. So it's shared resources, shared earnings, because it's second from the 8th, right? Other people important to you, resources. It can be money coming from stock investments, tax rebates, taxes itself, insurances, and loans and mortgages. Those kinds of monies you share with others, resource in leveraged ways. So with this story, I would say something along the lines of, why is Saturn here since March of 2023 through to February of 26? He's helping you stabilize, be serious, cautious around that kind of financial story. But when he's here, he's also sometimes like a taskmaster or an elder. Now, sometimes it means money from an elder, a grandparent or an elder parent, or somebody elder could help you financially during this time. And when he's up here, going through your 8th house, sometimes there is a kind of need for secrets or hidden variables, especially from childhood and family of origin stories, to be dealt with, or for the wisdom of those stories to be made clear to you. I want you to compare Saturn moving through this kind of 8th house, mostly money, but other things as well, the psyche, psychology. We put a lot of garbage there, shame, betrayal, abandonment stories. Saturn's going through that part of the sky, and he's going to be there, yes, I said till February 26th, but he's been here before. So if you're old enough, consider what happened in May of 1993 to April of 1996, when he was there for those 3 years, and also retrograding there 3 times, or March of 1964 to March of 67, and retrograding there 3 times. Those are times where you have actually felt this experience before and can make some notes about the past to figure it out now. Saturn here will activate square to other houses in the sky, and the energy where he's really kicking in some energetics as he retrogrades, as I said earlier in the video, between 19 and 14 to 12 degrees, is he's going to square, cause intense energy toward the house of children. That's your 5th house, and romantic and sexual love and entrepreneurial endeavors. And honestly, money, conflict, stress, and challenges with children, especially their adults, right, can be a part of the narrative here in the next few months. Maybe a child needs you financially, or maybe their wings are melting and they're falling financially, and you're asked to sort of step in or help. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Saturn rethinks, revises, and reconsiders matters for you. As well, entrepreneurial business endeavors can be 5th house, and you may be revising matters there. When Saturn squares your 11th house of good spirit, he's also squaring people. That's an elder sibling relationship, what has to be revised and rethought, especially with shared monies and resources and an elder sibling, or revise and rethinking matters to do with friendships and larger groups of social belonging, or how you make the money and gains from your career, your 10th house. Those are under revision and rethinking and pressure through to mid-November. With him eyeballing Saturn, Juno, the goddess of committed vows and agreements, often marriage and divorce, but it's in a money house. It's what commitments and agreements have you been thinking about making or have made to do with matters to do with your savings, your possessions, your resources, and sometimes just your paycheck, your earnings. In this case, especially with a flow up to that Mars energy in your 10th house. I would say that Saturn here is probably going to have you come to terms with serious matters of realistic perspectives on the agreements you have regarding finances with another person, whether that's a business or a marriage partner. Juno here can suggest the reassessment of those matters in a realistic way. And perhaps be having you consider a change, Mars 10th house, of job or career path, and a new way to resource yourself financially. And you may come to terms with the answer as you revise and rethink by November 15th and onward. Because he's in a kite formation that suggests success is financial here, because he's anchoring a kite from the house of shared resources and pointing at the liftoff in the house of possessions, savings, and money, then I think this is actually going to work out well for you. And it's by this deep dive reassessment of where that money is, that 401k, that banking mortgage money, that loan money, the money you share with your spouse, all that kind of stuff, and tax monies, and all you're revising that. I do want to say that you do get financial liftoff in a good way for most of you as November 15th onward, Saturn's direct, and you can see some financial glow here. You got some support from Athena in the house strategic wisdom, from the house of property, land, and real estate. In a trine to Saturn can suggest refinancing, remortgaging, buying a new property or selling a property, and the wisdom to know when and how to do that being focused on between the beginning of this retrograde and, of course, it's all the way through to November. You know, honestly, and then the other support for the kite, of course, is Venus in the 12th house. Now, that can also be about financial money coming from foreign investors, foreign shores, or foreign lands. But we do keep seeing connections to land, property, and real estate. Some of you may want to buy property in another country. Some of you may find a buyer for your property from another country. Those kinds of stories may happen. I know a lot of you are just renting, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be that. Saturn is the lord of the rentals, part of the sky. And so positive rental stories can also emerge from this. You know, ultimately, Saturn revising and retrograding is also going backwards over the past to the past, right? Time travel. So what financial stories from your past can come back to you in this time frame in a very positive way during this retrograde? You know, if money's owed to you from the past because he rules the 6th house of debts, karmic and real, and you have a debt unpaid, someone owes you money, for example, I think some of you Leos can see money coming back from the past during this retrograde time. I can make a case for that for you for sure. Good luck with that, Leo. I think it's going to work out well. I think you're going to find this to be mostly positive on the money front. I'm going to Virgo. Give me a minute. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. In the story here, what we see is Saturn is giving your marriage house a difficult time. Now, I don't mean that he's going to kill off the marriage partnership, but he can. If you're single, he'll bring you a new relationship that's karmic, that could endure, or with someone much younger or older than you. But he's been here since last March, and he'll be here all the way through until February 26th. So you better get used to it. His retrograde is happening between technically 19 and 12 degrees. And so, of course, Virgo's sun, moon, and rising with their ascendant or their sun or the moon in that range of time, 19 to 20, 19, let's go 16 to 9 degrees of Virgo, are under acute pressure from Saturn in the 7th house. That can be about your significant long-term committed love person. They may be melancholic, stressed, anxious, dreadful and fearful, and heavy, burdened. And it may be not about you. And you're able to witness it, but with Juno moving through your 1st house for quite a while now, you keep asking yourself, should I stay or should I go? Or is this my true relationship? Or you're looking to be married or divorced. These questions are highlighted for you and have been for several months. Now, with Saturn retrograde, it can also bring back old marriage partners from your past. It can bring people and business partnerships back from your past as well. The retrograde itself is something you've experienced before. Go back in time, if you don't mind, to May of 1993 to April of 1996, because Saturn was retrograding in your 7th house back then. It was in that house all of that time and retrograded 3 times. So if you go back to spring of 93 to 96, and you're old enough, you can compare stories. Did you have a separation, a divorce? Did you get hooked up with someone older than you? Was it a karmic relationship or someone younger? Did your partner just have a really hard time? And then we can go back, if you're old like me, to 64 to 67. Yes, I'm born in 62. I can maybe go back to my childhood if I was a Virgo, but go back then and what was going on then when Saturn transited your 7th house as well. As Saturn is in this part of your sky, he's also looking at you. So he's asking you, what do you want in love, significant love, business partnerships? What do you want in terms of how you receive your audience and marketplace, 10th house from your career? Saturn is also saying, I witness your 4th house. That means I pressure it. Revise, rewind, and rethink your relationship to home, land, property, and real estate. And revise and rethink your relationship to your career and reputation. Jupiter up there says you're going to do really well and very swell in career and reputation matters through till next June 9th. So you're lucky in career, you're expansive, you're growing, the boss loves you get the lucky job. But Saturn is saying, hey, and there's going to be a Jupiter-Saturn square coming up in August. Be seriously sober-minded, realistic, and wise about what agreements and contracts you wish to make regarding career matters over the course of this retrograde, which is until November 15th. It may look good, but Jupiter is in detriment. Don't just take it because it looks good. Ask for some legal advice, especially with Saturn in the 7th. Legal expertise regarding career and job opportunities is exceptionally powerfully blessed for you. Now, also, there is a kite in the sky, and the kite says you can be very successful at the tip of any kite. And where is the tip of the kite, Juno? We're losing a good visual on the kite because I've been moving us forward, but trust me, she's at the tip of this kite right here, right? And the kite says, you are looking at being successful in the way you approach vows and agreements regarding love and marriage, business partnerships, and any agreements or partnerships you wish to form. And that's where your superpower of success lies in this retrograde through to November 15th. And you may see the liftoff of this power as he goes direct November 15th and you move forward. As well, this kite is anchored by support structures on the crossbar of Athena in your 3rd house. That could be some strategic legal advice or guidance from a sibling or a real lawyer regarding travel, regarding skills-based learning and education, regarding writing projects, and also maybe visas. She's very much lawyerly and she's witnessing the house of foreign shores and lands. And some of you may be thinking of visa matters or legal matters or travel visa matters and trying to really figure out how to make strategic agreements with a significant other around those matters. Now, also seeing that you get support from Venus in the 11th house, which is beautiful. That's like the house of good spirit where good things happen, wishes come true. She's very godmothering up there. And so support can come from an elder sibling, friends who are your allies, really help you out, benefactors, favors from friends, but also maybe some financial bounty that is quite luscious for you from your career and your career gains. And that looks really good on helping you make decisions regarding travel, maybe foreign land visas, maybe things to do with education and learning, etc. All said and done, a lot of what I like about this is even though much of what Saturn's about is about other people, he is activating that Juno energy in the house of you. And you are the queen of Mount Olympus, right? Jupiter is the king up here. And so how can you be the queen of Mount Olympus, Virgo, in the way you make strategic, Athena, partnerships in work, love, business in the next few months, and how those decisions can really amplify after November 15th, direct motion, Saturn. All right, we're rolling into the next sign. We're only halfway through. This is going to be one humdinger of a long video. Helps the algorithm though. Funny enough, see, people don't know that, but if people watch a video longer than usual, that's how they say it, then the algorithm likes it and then shares it more often. So when I do a short video, sometimes it usually dumps in the algorithm. All right, moving onwards. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. What happens in this story for you? Well, first of all, reminder, backdrop story, right? South Node transit through the house of sign of Libra, through your sun, over your sun, letting go of a career path, releasing a career path, over your moon, changes in your body, changes in letting go regarding your home and nest. But if it's your rising sign, the South Node transit over here is like what happened to Israel, right? It's a Libra rising, needing to surrender, let go, and release, like something will flush something down the drain around your identity, that kind of thing. You know, when I look at the situation in Israel, not to get back there again, but, you know, their identity has been flushed down the drain, right? It's now a pariah state, and that South Node can do that for you, but you don't want to be a pariah person. What you want is to let, if you're a rising Libra, is to soften and surrender into the divine wisdom, let go, let God, and understand the deeper part of you, the eternal essence of you, the wise soul of you, in this transit, which has been going on since last summer, July of last year, 2023, and continues until January, early January of 25. So you're still in it. Now, that said, let's talk about Saturn. Saturn, the Lord of time and karma, is in your sixth house, which is a karmatic house. The 612 can be very karmatic axes of the chart, as well as the eighth house. But anyway, and this energy, therefore, is very much what Saturn wishes you to understand with the lens of sobriety and wisdom regarding karmatic situations, people, places, and things. You have karmatic debt here, and when you serve and you pay off that debt, you get the rewards and the gains in this life of the 11th house. So therefore, Saturn says, to pay off a debt, one must do seva or service. So here's where you are in hard work mode. Go back to March of last year. How have you been working hard, grinding even? How has your health maybe been challenged with karmatic health challenges? How have you been burdened and heavy regarding animals and pets? What has challenged you, Libra, regarding colleagues and coworkers or rental situations? I have a Libra sun friend who had someone pass away in a rental property she owned. Where has this been a challenge for you, these kinds of situations? Because Saturn is a taskmaster and a guide, a teacher and a Yoda under his best circumstances. Now, you're looking at a retrograde that will start up here, June 30th. Through to next year, to November 15th. But you've had it before. You've had Saturn here before. Saturn's been here last March. We'll leave in February 26th. You're in the thick of it. But go back in time, and I want you to think back to May of 1993 to April of 1996, because that was when Saturn went through your sixth house and retrograde 3 times. And also, back to 1964 to 1967, March to March. Saturn was traveling through this part of your chart, and yes, 3 times retrograding. Therefore, you can make comparisons to what this was like then, even if you were a child. And think pets, think rentals, think money and debts, think health matters and work matters. These are many meanings of the sixth house, and lawsuits as well. When you have Saturn here, there's a tremendous opportunity to truly burn off karma, especially on health matters, especially in work matters. So don't look at this as a terrible thing. This has positive output for you. And with Saturn, with Neptune, it's dreamy and different than any other time. You can actually make tangible dreams come true regarding health and workplace placements in your life. Saturn is squaring 2 houses. He is in a square relationship to your 3rd house, and that is your siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, as well as your local neighbor and neighborhoods. And there may be challenges and difficulties from people like that in your past, as you need to revise, rewind, redo, and rethink those situations, those people and plans, including travel plans, including your social media world and your website and things like 3rd house like that. Yeah, like that. Now, what else? I'm just trying to get this mic not to slip down my bra. Also, rethink your 9th house matters. Foreign lands, foreign shores, book publications, legal and court situations, higher education. The axis of travel and education is under revision, The axis of writing and publications is under rethinking between this retrograde onset, June 30th and November 15th. And there's pressure as Saturn witnesses your 12th house to rethink your commitments, vows, and agreements regarding the following: self-sabotage, self-undoing, therefore addictions and substance abuse, regarding isolation and aloneness, regarding foreign income and income sources, and maybe regarding vows from past lives. I see Juno here and I think vows of poverty, vows of chastity, vows of something or other. So you may be looking at a deep karmatic untying of those knots of vows you made in other lives and other days and other places, and revising your sense of reality because of those revisions. The kite is wonderful. You are Juno kite tipped. And that's the house of those past lives, the house of your self-undoing, the house of your isolation, but revenue from foreign countries, foreign shores, and foreign entities. And it speaks of partnership. Who would you partner with? Foreign shores, foreign lands, foreign countries type energies. Someone from another country, some partnerships in another country, in order to get some lift off financially, perhaps. Why? Because this is the house of revenue generated from those people and places. And you can say that Saturn in the work house is allowing that to lift, lift, lift. And what else is helping? Strategic Athena in your resources, possessions, and savings, and blessed Venus, the Lord of your sign, in your career and reputation up there with the sun. Therefore, you're going to have a career and reputation glow up because of the revisions, revising, and rethinking you're doing between now and November 15th. And some of that glow up may be most tangible after November 15th because Saturn is direct and things go forward. All said and done, to me, this looks like you're going to really have some experiences of positive changes in your career and your work, but also in your debt and in your health and in your self-undoing, sabotaging stories. But your money story is looking positive. The Artha houses of 2, 6, and 10 are about money and career, and there is trine energy there, and of course, the tip of a kite. So you're looking good, Libra. This is your uplift. And just a possibility, but not necessarily true. But when I see Jupiter in the 9th house, a lot of you might be called to either re-educate, educate others, travel extensively to foreign lands. And with Juno in the 12th, some of you may get work opportunities in and from foreign shores. And potentially, with Saturn ruling the house of your home and homeland, some of you will relocate to another country or consider doing so as a result of this retrograde. Am I still recording? Yes. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Number 1, Saturn is in the sign of Pisces since last March and will continue to move through this sign. He'll be there basically until February of 2026. So this means your 5th house of children, fertility, creativity, art and muse-driven projects, entrepreneurial and consulting type businesses has been Saturnized, including sexuality and romance. This is a time where you are much more serious about these matters, but even so, you may not mind it. Saturn would say stabilize your romance. I have a Scorpio rising sun. During the Saturn transit, he and his long-term girlfriend became engaged and will be married under this influence. Give it concrete, tangible form and make it stable and enduring. You can also look at this as your children are here. And Saturn here makes for hardship with your children, maybe difficult for your children, or your children feel like a burden, or raising them feels hard. That could happen. But you may also be more stern or disciplined with them, or they may be adulting up a bit here. When it comes to your creativity, Saturn says driving, working, persevering, and disciplined energies here. But he's retrograding now. And as he retrogrades, he goes back and says, rewind, reverse, rethink this story. What needs to change here? Where do you have to have some sagacity? Where should you take a bit of a slowdown? Where can delays be okay? He has been here before in May of 1993 to April of 1996. If you're old enough to remember that time frame, then go back and remember that time frame, because it will imply a way to connect the dots. And of course, if you're old enough to remember 1964 March to March of 1967, you can connect those dots as well. Those were the transits of Saturn through Pisces, and of course, including those 3 retrogrades. I mean, Saturn wants to help you make your dreams come true when he's with Neptune, and that's for the artist in you. He flows to you, and he's in a creative artistic house, and some of your artistic goals and dreams may come true, especially in Neptunian fields of music, photography, filmography, and sound, and Hollywood, and all that stuff. Screenplays are here as well. Saturn is in a square relationship to 2 houses, your 2nd and your 8th. These are money houses. And even the 5th is a money house. It's speculation and financial fortunes through gambling and money fortunes that way in winning money. Saturn here, if he's a lord of time and karma, could give you some financial gains that you didn't expect. He is squaring Jupiter in your 8th house of chunky money, which is inheritance money. But with Pluto in your 4th of legacy wealth, I will have to say that this can indicate some suggestion between now and November 15th of inheritance type monies coming your way, especially if they're from the past, meaning that you knew about it before or it got waylaid or held up somehow. And also because you see a square relationship to your 2nd house where the wings of Icarus have melted. This is a melting in your possessions and savings. And maybe that's already true for you, but you may feel like spending and money and resources are melting. Your wings are falling here between now and November, but don't worry so much because honestly, with Jupiter in your 8th house through till next year, there is inheritance money, chunky money, unexpected good money for you or a significant other, you together in the sky through to next June. But in the intermediate time frame, Saturn retrograde here could also suggest something from the past financially returning to you through lucky breaks. I'm not joking. You find the old lottery ticket that hasn't expired under the sofa, you go scan it, and it turned out to be a winner, would be a very literal interpretation of this. Your children, of course, are in the 5th house, and situations about financial hardship and your children, if you have them, is on the table, and you may have to deal with that as well. Now, during this retrograde of Saturn, as it bakes in, I will just mention a gentle story here. You do have a kite, which I love, and Saturn holds the handhold of this kite, which is taking off in your 11th house of great gains from your career. All said and done, even though there is some delay and some retrogradation for slowing it down or going backwards, when things are about to move forwards, let's say November 15th, it looks like a contract agreement or a partnership in the 11th house of great career gains and looks like a potential new career offer opportunity coming through. Maybe after the retrograde, I'd like to see Saturn direct for this to be authentically happening. And Juno up here can be also some good things occurring with an elder sibling and positive developments and agreements and vows regarding collaborations with friends. You know, the anchors of the kite, like, you know, like the crossbars are Venus in your 9th house. And that's a house of foreign shores and foreign lands. It's a house of good luck anyway. It's a Lakshmi house. It's a luck house. Venus is a luck goddess. Lakshmi is a luck goddess of prosperity and wealth from father figures, especially with the sun. So therefore, father figures can benefit you financially, as this retrograde is indicating that. And strategic Athena in your house of you are strategic, wise, and using wisdom and knowledge in order to lift this kite up. You carry the perspective of a lawyer mind. You've got your eyeballs on this liftoff as Athenian. If you're an author type, and some of you may be, book publishing is involved. This is Athena. She rules authorship and the 5th house of creativity. Anything you wish to publish or author can have a great lift in this story for you and success. Maybe after Saturn goes direct and you have revised, revisioned, or redone some creative artistic project, including a writing project as well with Mercury in your 9th house. It suggests for some of you writing, whether it's songwriting or real writing or screenplay writing, some kind of writing project revisions, but ultimately great success, including in the realm of publications. The only other thing I would mention that you've got a long Mars transit here in Taurus through your 7th house, and that's just as a heads up for you, okay? This kind of baking in here. You may be having some disagreements here with your significant other if you already have one. And if that's the case, don't stress too badly because Saturn is sextiling that Saturn, suggesting the agreements can be. You might have to go into revising and rethinking agreements with a significant long-term business or love partner as a result of this retrograde through to November, but that revision of agreements and revision of strategy with that partner can benefit both of you in your jointly held resources. That's your Jupiter in the 8th house. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Don't forget, this is general bell curve astrology, right, guys? I'm reading like for one sign. Think about that. Your chart is unique, and I can't do your reading. I'm pretty full. I mean, I don't have spots until September. So consult a decent astrologer. I'm going to start recommending a little short list of astrologers that I think are worthy of, my commendation. Not that I'm the queen of astrology, but that I would trust if I had to have a reading for myself. And I already have some that I trust, but I just say, when people go, oh, you said luck and wealth was coming my way, nothing happened. It's general bell curve astrology. Bell curve means that on average, most people experience what I'm about to say. Outliers won't, right? It's a central tendency reading. All right, did I sound gnarly? All right, I gotta go ahead and take my sandwich with a glass of Albarino wine in the vineyard in a minute. So let me continue forward. And Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. I love it here, guys. I can eat bread. I can drink wine. I never have a hangover. I feel full of life. I mean, the bread here is amazing. I'm gluten-free for 15 years. When I'm in Europe, I'm eating the bread and I have no reaction. And believe me, I know if I have a reaction, I start itching. I know too much about me, TMI. Cut, cut, cut. And I know you trolls are going to say something down there. I just know. You're so flaky. I just like, what the fuck? Why I even care anymore? It's beyond me. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. What you have going on is you have a Jupiter story. You have a Saturn story retrograding in your 4th house of home, land, property, and real estate. It's so simple. It's where do you live? It's what you do in your private domestic life. It's those you live with. It's the land you stand on, homeland, and the home you're in. And therefore, things are changing. Saturn got here last March and will be here through until February of 2026. Quite often, when he comes through this part of the chart, it can mean an elder may come to live with you, or you may care for an elder in their home or in the home. Otherwise, there's hardship, loneliness, and aloneness in the home, contemplation and spiritual wisdom in and from the home. Now, you've been through this longer Saturn story before in May of 1993 through to April of 1996, as well as March of 64 to March of 1967. These are times you've lived through Saturn 4th house transits. So compare notes. With Saturn here, there will be some karmic changes regarding your home. And when he retrogrades here, which is, as I said, June 30th to November 15th, you will revise, rethink your home story. Saturn retrograde here can mean people from the past come to visit you in your home, or Saturn retrograde means you may want to make changes to your home regarding home, homeland, and home matters from your past, including your childhood home. And some of you may go back to your childhood home and spend time with mom or dad or your town of birth and all of that, the nativity. Go back to the nativity or revise your childhood stories. I know a lot of people, when Saturn moves through their 4th house, and they're my clients, they find the home alone story challenging. Being home and alone can feel like a hardship. I love to be alone at home myself, but I remember when Saturn was transiting through my 4th house, home and alone felt gnarly. Okay, so you might not like the feeling of being alone and home. It's just so simple. And yet, we all have times in our life where that happens. So when he's revising, rethinking that, maybe I would say go more guru, go more spiritual during this transit. Ask yourself if being alone and home and isolated in some way isn't a good thing, right? Saturn's at the midnight hour, the bottom of the sky. There are ages we call the 4th house ages. Okay, I'm going to give those to you for you guys, okay? Because when Saturn's here, it's almost bringing those ages into being. Go back to the ages of 3 years old, 15 years old, 27 years old, 39 years old, 51 years old, and every 12 years. Those are your 4th house profection ages, where you're asked to go into the midnight hour, the dark night of the soul, the inner life, the cocoon, right? To cave in, go underground, go dark. And when Saturn's here, and it's 3 years, for goodness sakes, more or less, you have the same energy. So think of those ages, because you might also be able to understand a bit better what it feels like, why Saturn's here. Now, he can excise childhood and familial and ancestral karma. If you've never heard of family constellation work, go Google it. Ideal time to do that stuff, especially during the retrograde, because it's going back to the past of your ancestral and familial karma. Now, when he's here, he's looking at your marriage house and your identity house in a square, asking for change in these 4 months ahead. Yes, July, August, September, October, change in your marriage, change in your significant others, change in your client audience outreach, 7th house, change in your identity, change in your body, change in how you perceive yourself. Your wings are melting. Icarus, you're falling from the sky. You reach too high. If that's true, what changes are you going to make from a deep place of ancestral karmatic excision and wisdom? Because ultimately, he's also looking at your 10th house of career and reputation. And that can be, with Juno up there, divorce. And that can be marriage. Your reputation is I'm getting divorced. Your reputation is I'm getting married. Those question marks are up for grabs and those answers are coming to you. Some of you may separate out from an existing marriage as a Sagittarius, and some of you may come into contact with a new marriage type partnership or public agreements. Vows and agreements, Juno in the 10th house is a contract for a new work situation as a result of this retrograde, because ultimately Juno is in the tip of the kite, right? And the kite says, what are the contracts, vows, and agreements you're going to make in or as a result of this retrograde? Let me know which it is. Because when Saturn goes direct, I'm really expecting the results. And if you're Sag, Sun, and Moon and Rising, it's between approximately 9 degrees and 16 degrees of Sag. For you guys, it's really, all of this is very acutely true, especially rising sign. If it's a rising sign, it may be more true. Sun, it could be about your career matters particularly. And Moon people, it's about changing your home over this retrograde story. Now, you could also experience this as a positive energy coming off of chunky money when Venus is here. And she's flowing to the tip of this kite into Saturn, selling a home and getting the money on the table, buying a home successfully, getting some kind of inheritance money or some chunks of money or a tax rebate coming out of this story is possible for you as a result of the Saturn. But with the retrograde, it's like from the past. You're selling a house from your past. You've had it for a long time, or you're getting money that was due you from an inheritance from the past, or your taxes were done wrong and you have a tax rebate. It's going to be really big. That kind of stuff. But also you may experience this strategic lawyerly Athena in the 12th house as also saying, backroom deals and negotiations with legalese minds also serves you to increase your career reputation stories and your financial chunky money in the months ahead. Saturn rules your possessions. Do you want to possess, or do you possess a house or property or condo or real estate, etc.? And with Uranus, Mars in your 6th house, you may cut away from a rental agreement, like no longer want to rent your property out, or cut away from a rental agreement as a tenant to benefit you over the next 4 months ahead. If you are a single Sagittarius, by the way, Jupiter transiting your 7th house can bring you a really strong love of a lifetime between now and next June. So keep that in mind as well. It's in the backdrop of the story, but it's engaged because Saturn squares Jupiter here, and we'll do so in August and later in December. Those are other videos coming. But in this retrograde, what situations and people and places from your past, including ex-husbands and wives, and family stories and family of origin stories are playing out, so that when Saturn goes direct, and Jupiter's going to still be in the 7th house until next June, you may experience a renewal of relationship love in an existing love story or a new one. Ultimately, when Saturn is crossing through the 7th house and will cross your descendant, a new relationship can emerge or an old existing one can end. Blessed endings. And we see that with divorced or married energies in the reputation part of the sky being a very significant part of this transit. All righty, I'm only praying that this microphone is working. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Now, let's get rolling. Saturn is the Lord of your sign, as it is for Aquarians. Saturn is moving through your 3rd house of... First of all, he's been here since last March. We'll be here till February 26th. It's your house of siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, extended family, nieces and nephews, the whole tribe, the kinship tribe and the local hood kind of vibe. Your neighbors and short distance travel and skills-based learning and communicating and writing and websites and social media, the junk drawer, and as my friend and ally and colleague Adam Mellenbus would say, the fishbowl in which you swim, your daily environment. Saturn has been here now since last March, and you may have feel heavy here. Travel has been heavy. Friendships in the local neighborhood and neighborhood stories have been heavy. Your online social media life has been heavy. I mean, these are possibilities, Your writing life has been hard. But nonetheless, you've had Saturn in this part of your sky before, May of 1993 to April of 1996. And back in March of 1964 and March of 1967. So it's a story you've lived through before to tell the tale. With Neptune here, you want to make some dreams come true, to do with travel, local neighborhoods, siblings, to do with short distance travel. Did I say that? Skills-based education, learning and teaching. Those are areas of enlivenment. You want to make dreams come true, but you have to like taskmaster in. And now that Saturn will retrograde on June 30th to November the 15th, you have to rewind and reassess and rethink this, and you can expect some slowdowns and delays here for your benefit as well. Saturn is squaring your sixth house where Jupiter is sitting, which is work and health matters. Jupiter will always bring you a health solution and a prosperous job if you're looking for either of those. But Saturn is in a retrograde, so health challenges from the past and jobs from the past and opportunities for jobs from the past can come back to you now during this June 30th to November 15th timeframe and really take off as a success story as November onward happens. And he's also squaring or angling into your 12th house of foreign tourists, foreign lands, and foreigners. And those people, places, and things matter. As well as if you've had your wings melt in self-undoing, self-sabotaging actions and habits and patterns and addictions, you're going to try to work with that energy to use wisdom and sagacity to work to restore good things here in your 12th house. Saturn is looking over at Juno in your 9th house, contracts, agreements, and partnerships and vows regarding third marriages, long-term committed love stories, visas and passports, foreign land travel and foreign shores, and foreign people. Higher settings for academia. This can look for some of you like going off to university in a new country, getting accepted or hearing back from old applications to educational institutions, and they're coming back and your wings aren't melting anymore. You just got accepted. Maybe you're on a second roll call or something. Or you may be revising and reassessing your spiritual philosophy and what you wish to commit to. Juno in the 9th house could say, you thought you wanted to be a Christian and now you want to be a Sufi or something. You can change your spiritual philosophy, revise or revision those as well, especially with the wings melting in your 12th house. This is a moksha liberation house, and I'm not too sure that wings melting as you reach for the sun is a bad thing. So you may be looking at a big spiritual energy here too for a lot of you, a Capricorn sun, moon, and rising sign. Now, because Saturn is the ruler of you, right? This is so important for you. I mean, like the Aquarians, you must pay attention to this retrograde. It does flow in a sextile back to your Cap sun, your Cap moon, and your Cap identity. If it's your sun, it's your career. If it's your moon, it could be your home and body. But if it's your ascendant, it's everything I'm really talking about here. And there's a kite, right? Because at the top of the kite is Juno, and Juno is like what you want to have a committed agreement about, a vow. And she rules marriage and divorce. And she's in the 9th house, which is churches and religion, by the way. Here comes the bride, right? Here comes the groom. But as she's sitting up there, the kite says this is where things lift off into success. Are you going to have successful developments regarding foreign lands, foreign travel, visas, publications, book publishing, higher academic settings as a result of this Saturn retrograde as you pull energy from your past? Contact with siblings from the past, aunts, uncles, nieces, and cousins from your past, childhood friends from your past, travel opportunities from your past resurfacing, and allowing you to lift up here with a strategic support from Athena, who's very loyally in the house of allies and benefactors, big older sibling energy, and support as well from Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and harmony, in the house of legal contracts, marriage, and business partnerships. Looks like a business partnership with a foreigner, a getaway marriage in a foreign country, setting up visas and passports regarding legal matters and foreign places. These are all possible themes. If you are a single Capricorn with Venus baking in here, Saturn in your third, a beautiful love story emerging from trips and travel, meeting the love of a lifetime during this retrograde cycle in a foreign shore or foreign country. Those stories can happen for single Capricorns. In other words, if you're in a relationship, it can deepen the strength of that relationship, and your significant other, Venus, Sun energy in the 7th house of Mercury, they get a glow up off of your Saturn retrograde. They get to experience maybe some kind of momentum, especially after November, in their life when it comes to their world, and you're benefiting because the collateral benefit. All right, I hope that helps. And we're going to move into my sign, Aquarius. All right, here we go, right? Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Oh, it jumped ahead, sorry. Aquarius, oh, come on, seriously? Ah, look, mono hands. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. We have Pluto in the first house. That's our big story. And so we're going to have to come to terms with our authentic source of power, life and death, reinvention, Phoenix rising. This is our story for the next 20 years. Now, that said, we have a story that started last March and will continue to February of 2026, where Saturn is moving swimming through the Pisces waters of our second house of money, earnings, and possessions, resources, financially, food that we eat and ingest, things we put in our mouth, things we smoke and drink, including my water. And Saturn is very serious. So we can contain, restrain, restrict, and modify and contain overindulgences and things we ingest. We can have dental work done under this and have to do the dental work, actually. With Saturn here since last March as well, we can be more sober-minded, serious, and Saturn benefits us. He's the Lord of our sign. When he goes to our second house, it doesn't harm us. It serves us. It serves us to put structures into place, forms and structures and boundaries to help us save, to help us wisely use our money, to invest our possessions if we need to, etc. So Saturn here is a wise, sage-like wisdom around resources. So don't fret, because Saturn here can make you fret. Saturn can bring you the constriction feeling around money, when in fact his goal is to serve you, to structure financially and your possessions and earning stories into something more solid. We've had this energy before of Saturn moving through our second house, back in May of 93 to April of 1996 and March of 1964 to March of 1967. In 64 to 67, I had a piggy bank, so let's not go there. But I would say that in spring, May of 1993 to April of 96, what Saturn did for me is start me in a new earnings and career direction, which is when I began doing psychic readings and left my journalism career behind. So it can feel like there's a wisdom here for all of us, because that was a very successful and lucrative direction for me. And that's why I'm even an astrologer today. So what was going on then is going on now, and the retrogrades happened then as well as now, 93 to 96. So here we have a retrograde. Saturn says go back, rewind, revise, pause, and don't be worried about delays. This is not the time for Aquarians to charge forward, to buy a new house, to buy a car, because you want to possess something here, to get a new possession. It's not a good time to make a major change in your earning strategy, your career direction, the way you make money. This is a time to hold fort and stabilize, because through to February 26th, Saturn is giving us the wisdom and structure we need for financial success. When he's retrograde, though, especially, we have to look backward in order to go forward. So rethinking things here. Because Saturn's retrograde in a possessions house, possessions from our past can return to us. Say you gave a sofa to one of your children, now they're moving and they can't keep it. It comes back. Say you gave a car to your child, it comes back. Say you had a property you lent to somebody who, I don't know, who lends a property, it can return to you. Say you sold a house that you love and want it back, it can come back. Possessions from the past returning. And this is through to November 15th. Saturn retrograde gives us a kind of a solitudinous and contained, measured, sage-like quality regarding things we eat, and you'll be reassessing and revising that. As I'm eating bread daily in Portugal and Spain, I have had not one gluten reaction. I recognize now I am not a celiac and I'm not gluten allergic. I have a problem with the grain. Maybe it's a hybridization, maybe it's glyphosate contamination, because even organic kills me back home. And if I was to eat bread here daily, I'd be happy. So I may revise. I'm giving me an example, right? This is a food that goes in our mouth, and I'm going Saturn retrograde. What can I do? Revise, rethink my relationship to gluten. Well, what I'll probably do when I get home is I'm going to start importing wheat from Europe and making my own bread. All right, that's that simple. So how will you revise, revision, and rethink the dietary style, the food style, and also your appearance? You know, Saturn, this is your face, your mouth, your teeth, your jaw, your throat, and you might want to revise and change and rethink those matters as well. I mean, it can be as simple as, a small cosmetic revision, or it could be everything, a full-on facelift or something awful like that. I don't want to judge you guys, but that I think that there can be excesses there sometimes. But they could work for you, okay? Because with Venus in your sixth house of health matters, facial rejuvenation might work out as well. You can just go, light, go light, get a red light laser. That's probably what I'll do. What else is happening for us here? I want to talk about the square. Saturn will square your 5th house and 11th house, and therefore the axis is under pressure and revision as well between the onset of the retrograde and November. You may revise and revision and have delays regarding matters to do with career gains directly, the money, the rewards, the gains from your career. There could be a slowdown here. And I anticipate that for me because I'm taking more time off this summer. I'm not seeing any clients. So I will see clients again in the fall, but part of this retrograde, June, July, August, involves a loss of income as I don't see clients. I'm working on 2 writing projects and stuff and other things. And so, yes, there is a delay in career gains and rewards. There is a slowdown for a lot of Aquarians for some reason during these, July, August, September into November, as well as some kind of slowdown, delayed revisions in the groups of friendships and belonging circles that you attend to. And similarly in the 3rd house, is there a slowdown in your sexual life, your romantic life, a slowdown in your connection with your children, in your creativity or fertility, or revisions around that? So you got writing projects on the go and you're going to revise or reassess a creative project as a result of the retrograde in the 2nd house of the voice, right? Now, Jupiter is in your 5th house, which brings you money luck, winning money luck, speculative luck in finances, and Saturn is retrograding. And it's possible that the square to the Jupiter-infused money luck house could be money luck from the past returning to you, whatever that means, during the retrograde. Or karmic money luck, Saturn, showing up in your story in the months between June 30th and November 15th. He does eyeball Juno in your 8th house. The indication here is that he's wanting to pressure in an oppositional way, contracts, agreements, and vows regarding shared resources with a marriage partner, a spouse, or a business partner, or maybe inheritance monies or money involving land, property, real estate, finance, banks, mortgages. There is something to say there about delays, revisions, rewinds over the course of the time frame of this journey. With Mars and Uranus in the 4th house, shocking, surprising, and sudden changes are coming in the weeks ahead to do with home, property, land, and real estate. But I'm not worried because Venus is blessing it all here in this retrograde onset from the 6th house. So here's another thought. There's a kite, guys. Go fly a kite in the house of chunky money. Hello, this is an indication of great success in investments, financing, refinancing, mortgages, inheritance monies, chunks of money, good money stories through agreements and contracts, partnerships and vows as well. And that is playing out baked in to that kite involved in this onset of the retrograde. And we have strategic support from Athena in the house of career and reputation. When she's here, she looks like an author, but she also looks like a wise lawyer. And we also can see support from Venus in your 6th house of colleagues, coworkers, health, good for your health, pets and tenancies and rentals. Given that this starts off with her here and Mars here, some of you have some very auspicious developments around contracts and agreements regarding selling and purchasing property or renting and rental agreements as well, whether you're the landlord or the tenant, over the course of the next 4 months. Now, finally, if you are looking at getting a pet, this whole setup of this kite can indicate positive developments regarding a pet in your life, especially with Venus in the 6th house. A beautiful pet that brings love and pleasure and joy to your life may occur here. And with the retrograde Saturn, to the extent in which you believe pets reincarnate, an animal from your past returning. I'm going to move on to the last sign and the best sign, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. And here we go. Ah! Sorry, guys. Saturn, I should have started with you. In the house of you, Saturn arrived here last March, will leave in February of 2026, and you're becoming sage-like, wise, measured, perseverant, disciplined, and focused. You are also maybe feeling burdened and heavy, fearful and anxious, the shadow of Saturn, alone and lonely, or just feeling very realistic. Saturn is giving you the potential for a sober-minded, realistic, but sage-like wisdom that you can embody as he travels through your house through to February of 2026. You had been embodying this Saturnian impulse before, back in May of 1993 to April of 1996, and also in March of 1964 to March of 1967. So compare notes. And each of those 3-year windows in the past involved retrogrades. The retrograde is you going back and revising, rewinding, and rethinking something and allowing for a pause or a delay if needed, especially when it comes to matters of contracts, legal vows and contracts with a significant other, whether it's in business or love or just a legal contract in general. If legal contracts involve home, property, and real estate, then we're really talking it up. There can be this revise, rewind, revision regarding Jupiter's, well, Saturn squares the Jupiter Panacea energy in your 4th house. So you may have delays and revisions on matters to do with domestic life. So when you live with property, home, and real estate and marriage partner stories, as things kind of have to go backwards, and you're the one revisioning it. You are Saturn, okay? This isn't life happening to you, but as you. So you are the one with this sense of, I'm looking at this squarely, my 4th house of home, my marriage partner, and my career, where the wings have been melting. Where have you felt like Icarus going to reach for the height of the high noon sky and melting in your career stories? Saturn is saying, let's look at this a little bit more like a Yoda. What wisdom can we bring to the melting career story so that you can have the sagacity to take the next stories forward in a positive career manner in the future? Jupiter is your Lord, and he is in the 4th house. And while he is in detriment, he runs your story. And he's going to give you the blessed wisdom and truth and knowledge needed regarding wealth, home, property, and real estate. And yes, more resourcefulness in your savings and possessions as a result of the stern way and Saturnian way you eyeball your money stories, especially when it comes to land, property, and real estate. And homeland. For some of you, Jupiter here can bring money from your family of origin, from mom and dad, or the legacy wealth of your lineage. Jupiter will be in your 4th house until next year, until the month of June. Jupiter is squaring Juno in a broad square on the onset of the retrograde, and there can be conflict regarding domestic prosperity issues and marriage partnerships, and some difficult terrain where you try to navigate your square, sober-minded realism with somebody else in your life, in business or love, regarding home and home-based matters. I would say that we notice that Saturn is also squarely eyeballing the goddess of marriage in the house of marriage. And I'm just saying that's kind of like a setup for you to want to grim reap karma and perhaps an existing long-term committed love, if it's needed, if it's right, if it's wise. And that question will be remaining with you in general anyway. all right, as you Saturnianly view your marriage through to February of 2026. The kite is taking off with Juno in the marriage house, legal contracts and agreements. So that seems positive, right? June 30th to November 18th, 15th, the vibe is like lifting off in the legal agreements, contracts and an audience and marketplace, lifting off in my vows and agreements with my marriage partner. Certainly some of you could take on a business partnership arrangement in work and business with this energy in the next few months. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm on a tippy stand in a hotel. Finally, I'd say to you this. You do want to say, if this kite's going to lift off, you need strategic legal advice from the House of Courts. That's what that Athena says to me. Or if you want a book publishing contract because you're a Pisces writer, yay, you can get that going in the next 4 months of this retrograde. As well as Venus is in the 5th house of children, and this is a fertility transit. If you're a Pisces rising, be careful. It's kind of baking in a little bit of pregnancy or you or your partner getting knocked up here as well. So caution, caution, caution. But with Venus in the 5th house of speculative money, luck, and winning, you have some financial success coming into this story, but it can come through foreign lands, foreign travel, higher educational settings, visas, passports, and just money, luck in general, or publications and legal publications. I mean, what I mean, like book publishing, and some luck around financial matters, creativity, creative projects, and goodness, and your Saturnian discipline focus around it. Athena is like wisdom and knowledge in a teaching and learning house. You may get involved in teaching and learning projects that benefit you financially, feel very fortunate, you feel very creative, you feel very luscious, and you're having fun. I'll say one thing, Saturn isn't Mr. Fun, but he flows to Venus and says enduring love, enduring fun, enduring beauty, coming through your story during this retrograde as he bakes in that Venus contact point. It certainly can be very satisfying for teaming up in business projects, teaching projects, learning projects with another. And also, if you're not in a romance and you're looking for a significant relationship, I don't mind this for you because Saturn flowing to Venus says love endures, but love is friendly and love is prosperous. And with Juno, if you're a single Pisces, this is a retrograde that could bring back a karmic love mate from your past and set many of you Pisces off on a beautiful new love trajectory. But I wonder with Athena here, if it involves foreign travel, foreign lands, foreigners, or educational settings involving how and why and when you come into this new, finally come into this new beautiful love story. With karma, though, karma, right? Saturn retrograde. Something from the past is coming to you in the present. There's anything else I want to say for you guys? I will just mention this. The nodes of fate will move into Pisces and Virgo axes in January of 2025, game-changing your life. The South Node will end relationships that are strained and stressed as South Node moves through the 7th, or bring karmatic big love stories to you. And it will be on September the 18th, 2024. There is a hybrid eclipse in the sign of Pisces at 25 degrees with a node of fate in the 2nd house. And one thing I'll say about that one eclipse, it's not the full Monty yet, is it could bring you a beautiful new financial opportunity into your life through a significant alignment with another person, whether that's a rich marriage partner or a new business alliance. So much more to say when we get to that eclipse cycle. I'll be doing my first videos on that eclipse cycle this fall with the hybrid eclipse. The node is still in Aries while the eclipse is in Pisces. I'll be talking about that this fall. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. And everyone, check my description box below for everything I have to offer. And I have so much down there, I can't even tell you about it. But Patreon community will be getting this video probably on June the 10th. I'm recording on June the 9th. And then I'll upload it for them, and they'll get this early access ad-free content. And if that's appealing to you, to get content way ahead of the public, they often get stuff a week or 2, or sometimes 3 days, depends on my schedule, ahead of the curve, ad-free early access. Go ahead, Sign up for a mere $5 a month. Plus, you get 1 to 3 Zoom meetings with me a month, depends on your tier. Go check out my Patreon community. We have about 370 people there. And when any given Zoom meeting comes up, there's never more than 10 to 15 to 20. Replays are available. So in other words, you get more, hey, get to meet me contact. Leave when you don't like it. Finally, I do give you 2 free courses to join and try me out. Chiron, the Key to Purpose, and Synastry, Are You My Person? 2 relationship classes I've taught. Market value $44 for the 2 of them, are for free. Trying me out on Patreon. Grab the courses, leave. I don't care. It's an ethical bribe. If you don't want to stick around, that's fine as well. But it's a gift from me. Thanks all very much for listening. I hope this video recording wasn't wonky. I'm on 2.5 bars of internet in a hotel in the middle of a rural area of Padron, Spain, España. I love the country of Portugal and Spain. I love the people. I love the food. I would move to Spain because I can speak. Yo hablo español un poquito. I can speak enough Spanish to get by and I understand it pretty well, but Portuguese is like square one. And for my regulars who are listening to me at the end, thank you so much for being here. Mwah.